Start recording. I've clicked start recording, not start streaming. It doesn't look like it was even streaming for long enough for a notification to go through to any servers or anything. So I think we're good.
Quick question for you two gentlemen.
Yeah.
How much of an anticlimax was Nova and lack of Blood Bowl release and all that storm? It's like, here we go again. GW are just dangling that carrot, aren't they? Dangling it. We're all following.
Yeah, it's kind of, I just don't, I don't know, like, because I don't know. It seemed like the perfect point to start to build hype, to start to release some details and kind of build it up, and then, you know, then have it released in November, ready for people to buy it for Christmas or something. I don't know. It feels like a missed opportunity. I don't really get like
their marketing strategy.
Yeah, like because the next thing we're expecting from them is we'll be expecting in November FAQ, won't we? So
yeah,
like if they then don't get it out, are we then getting an FAQ or are we not getting it? Like I
don't know, but hey, on that disappointing bombshell, should we play the intro?
Sounds good. Hello, everyone, and welcome to New Dice Please, the bite-sized Blood Bowl podcast brought to you by the people at Blood Bowl Live. My name is Chris. Joining me, as always, Mr. Scott Bryant. Scott, what is your favourite sports team? This is generic over all of sport.
Bloody hell. Good afternoon, Christopher. Oh, good afternoon, because this is an afternoon recording randomly. Hello, chat. Hello, everybody. My favourite sports team, I have to go with my hometown, really, my place of birth. So it will be Bridgend Rugby.
Very nice. Very nice.
I could list off a ream of others as well, but I won't. I'll just stick with.
Nice. You've gone for one that I didn't immediately. I think we were both like, I don't know where that is or who that is, but I think that's quite nice. So
Thanks.
That's good. Joining us also, Mr. Tom Hovell. Tom, favorite sports team?
Has to be the McLaren F Formula One team.
See, I thought you were gonna go there. I thought you were gonna do it. No Mr. Feeks this week. My guess would be he would say Arsenal, but he might surprise me and say a rugby club. I don't know. What's my favorite sports team? I mean, I do of course like the Anaheim Ducks, who are probably kind of flavor of the month at the minute for me. So we'll go for the Anaheim Ducks. No surprise to anyone, but we're not here to talk about the Anaheim Ducks, really, although I guess in a way we kind of are, but are not, which will all make sense when I get the end of this sentence out. No, what we thought we would discuss today is theming your teams. We all create Blood Bowl teams. We all get that point where we decide who we want to play, and then we need to decide what color are we going to paint them, what we're going to call the players if you go into that level of detail, what logo are you going to have for your team if you go into that level of detail, and what is your team going to be called. And some people go for kind of interesting choices, but most people tend to go for some kind of theme around that team. I know all of my teams have had a theme of some kind. I know that your guys' teams have been sort of, had some kind of scheme or something to them. So we thought we'd have a little play about and come up with some additional themes for teams that we could do based on whatever it is we fancy theming it on. It's an open book, this one, completely open. I can see us doing multiple of these because there is no end to the number of themes we could probably come up with for different teams. But Mr. Tom Hovell, I'm going to come to you first because I know that it was you who kind of raised this idea of themes for teams and some good themes that you had. So do you have a particular theme in mind for a team that you want to do?
Yeah, so this thought was created by me perusing 3D printing. And I actually came across a 3D printed mini version of Edna from Will-O-the-Wisp. And I kind of thought, hang about, you could make a Will-O-the-Wisp necromantic team. So you could have Edna as the golems, Will-O-the-Wisp obviously as Wraiths, Marvis as the ghouls, Morg as werewolves, and the astronauts as the zombies on that side of things. I then went and thought of another team which would probably get us banned, which was a vampire team called the 80s Innocents, where the throwers are the runners are.
Jesus Christ, Tom. That's a hard pivot. That's such a hard pivot. I don't know how I'm going to edit that. What are you doing to me, man? That was
I think
Scott, did you see that coming?
I didn't, and not off this gentleman as well. So I think there's going to be some bleeps on there, and then
Yeah.
we will let the audience decide to fill in the gaps however they do. But that was not that was not Tom Hovell. What
That's not where I wanted to be.
Is this really Tom? Is this just an AI generated, Tom Hovell, evil Tom?
Oh God, I don't know what he did in Amsterdam, but this clearly he's been set on. Oh dear. Right. Okay. Just for a second, let's just forget that last minute didn't happen and go back to the Will o' the Wisp, shall we?
Yeah, Will o' the Wisp, I think is a great one, a great one for a theme for Necro. And I think you need to share with the audience the theme you put in chat previously, Tom, about your Imperial Nobility, because I think that's just fantastic.
Oh yeah, it was still an 80s children's theme kind of shows, and that was Nobility team based on Fireman Sam.
Oh, see, that's a good one.
See, I like that.
Can you do the accent while you play? Can you just have a Welsh undertones as you play? Scott, you could.
Well, Tom Fix
Tom Fix could as well. So yes,
good.
Yeah,
I like that one. So, do you normally go as far as naming all your players? Because I see quite a lot of teams where you look at it and they look the players, like particularly on tour play, because it allows you to see it. The players are kind of named in the generic way because tour player assigns a random name when you add a player on. Do you name your players? Because I always name all the players in my roster, and I quite like that because it gives each player a bit of a narrative when you play as to kind of which one's doing well, which one isn't, or if you've named them after something, and whether they start to kind of become the thing that you've named them after, whether they kind of act in that way, or kind of things like that. Do you name your players?
Yes.
Yeah, I do in league, but not normally in tournaments.
Like Tom. Well, in league I do, and I try to link them in. I started by trying to link them in with the name of the players from my pink elves. Everything sort of pink related as much as I could, or cake or pink related, anything like that. So, or cakes anyway. And then my last one, what I found in my last several teams, I find it more entertaining to name it after people in the league and the shop. So when people say again, oh, I've just killed Tom Hovell, or I've just killed Chris Coe, or I've just been violent against John Reeder, I think it just makes people smile. And then you do see other coaches looking out, say, which one am I?
I like that. I think for where we kind of keep an eye on our league and do like roundups and stuff and all that stuff we do, it is quite entertaining to be like, oh, John Reeder's got sent off again.
Yeah. So I do like that, but I don't give them backstories or anything like that. But however, I did take Mr. Hovell's lead when he mentioned that Fireman Sam, and I was thinking, okay, what other sort of TV themes could you use for Blood Bowl? Because there are some fantastic themes out there. I mean, you've got things like the Bunga, the horror goblins, and you've got lots of that. You've got the Peaky Blinders-esque gnomes that we've seen, and we've seen them in our league as well. One of the things that made me laugh when I was thinking about this is I'd like to do Skaven maybe after Pinky in the Brain from animatronics, because you think they're mice and want to take over the world every day, but their plots and their inventions always fail. Perfect for Skaven.
I like that because I did my I painted my Skaven team as like white rats, and I think they look really cool. They kind of pop quite nicely, and I think it looks I really like it. Would you do Skaven, or I'm wondering if you're doing Pinky in the Brain, then you could go for you could also either do Chaos Renegade, because you've got the Skaven line rat and you can have a rat ogre, and you could also do Underworld as well, where you could do one or the other.
Well, I think I would do Skaven to start with because we're fitting with like the narrative of Pinky, and the brain created loads of clones of them in terms of wanting to take over the Blood Bowl world to win the championship glory and therefore take over the world. That sort of absolute vague direction, but yeah, something like that would be good. And then it was just thinking of what else could you do to aspire. So for me, it's all about, if you've got an idea, go for it. I also go by color scheme as well. What would I like to paint? And if there are some apps, if you look online, there's some fabulous artists who do things, particularly with orcs and greens, because it's one of those colors. When you get it right, it absolutely sings on the tabletop. So I was thinking maybe you could have, do you remember when you used to have the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe?
Yep.
And the models, when they brought the toys out, were really buff and butch in little clothes. And there's a fantastic fantastic meme from Family Guy about Stewie playing with those. Another conversation for another day. But having all those guys big and beefy and green as your orcs, that would be very, very funny indeed. So never mind. And then the other one I've got, because I did a bit of homework on this one last night. 90s action heroes, because you can get the figures online of people like Arnie, Sly Stallone, Bruce Willis, Kurt Russell, all of those guys, and therefore you could have a Blood Bowl team of 90s action heroes.
So a bit kind of Expendables-esque.
Yeah, and I think you'd have to play them exactly as high risk, high reward.
What you could do like a Norse team of WWE players.
Norse wrestling team is a great shout.
Yeah. I have seen
vibrant, vibrant colours. Proper like Hulk Hogan style clothing or whatever.
Yeah, I think that would be a definite one. I think that would be a lovely one. Yeah.
Oh, that's a very good shout. That's a very good shout. I really see the painting of it is like, if I come up with if I have like an idea in my head, like I have to get really invested into it and think I can do a good job of it, because I'm not the greatest painter. I do things the easiest way I can to make them look okay. But some of the teams I've done have been sort of okay, and sometimes I just come up with something and I'm like, what team would suit this, and then see if I can figure it out. Like my my old ogre team, which were the Tortugan Toucans, and I made it kind of my theme around them was, this is a team that are so obsessed with toucans that they basically have killed a bunch of toucans and have made their uniforms out of them. So they all had toucan painted noses, and all of the little sharp kind of pointy bits on any of the armor were painted like toucan bills. Which looked really good. They looked great, and I quite like the idea of chucking Noblar down the field with a toucan nose, and it kind of thinking it's a toucan before it crashes and dies. I love some of these themes are great. So there's one theme that I've got and I want to do, but I kind of want your guys' help.
Is this your dog?
This is the Bearded Hounds, yeah.
This is the Bearded Hounds, yeah.
So I want a team of, and what I want to do is I want to build a team of dog positionals that then I can use to be any team that I want it to. So within that, I need kind of the very small ones that can be your kind of strength ones. I need your stunty ones that can be your strength twos, your kind of lineman ones, your throwers, your catchers, your blitzers, and then maybe some kind of more special pieces that would be a bit like your war dancers and your witch elves and stuff. And then, of course, your big guys. But it is a case of which dog suits which position best. So immediately in my head, lineman, I quite like the idea of my linemen being schnauzers, because I have a schnauzer, and I think as kind of little stocky all front but actually a little bit average kind of sums up a schnauzer quite nicely. They are all front, but they're, especially miniature ones, are just kind of, not a lot to them. So that's kind of what I've got as my lineman. But what do you think for like throwers and catchers and blitzers?
I think for me as a dog owner as well, I think for your catcher has to be a collie, because they're the best at catching. If you look at a collie catching a frisbee, they're fantastic things, and they're agile, and they like to get, and they like to make sure it's all safe and secure. So I would definitely have a collie as a catcher. And then my big guy, you got to go for a Great Dane, haven't you? Really?
See, now you say that, but I like the idea of like a Saint Bernard or a Burmese mountain dog, something really big and fluffy. Like,
Not like a Rottweiler or something like an Alsatian,
no,
Them
I,
or the
or would
Blitzers.
that be a Blitzer?
Yeah.
I think an Alsatian is your blitzer, but I think for your big guy, I quite like the idea that it looks fluffy and cuddly, but it will absolutely destroy it. Absolutely destroy
I
you.
would have gone for my Blitzer. I would have gone for a Doberman
Yeah, I can
because
see it.
they're agile, they're sleek. They'll get in. But one of those type of breeder dogs. Yeah.
You're going
What
to
if
go for Chihuahua as your little guy?
I think you've probably got to go for like a Chihuahua as like your nobbler sized one,
Yeah.
and then
Ooh.
there's something a bit bigger than that, but still quite small to be your stunties. So that could be like Jack Russell size. Miniature Schnauzer would fit there, but I want to put the Schnauzer as my lineman. So
Border Terrier, something like that.
yeah, I try.
Or
You
even
kind
a
of
really aggressive miniature poodle, just a really off the face mad miniature poodle who won't stop barking and everyone else wants to shut them up because they're annoying them, which is perfect.
What about a specialist piece that would be your war dancers, your witch elves, in those teams that have multiple different positionals and you need to cover them all? What would you go for that's something a bit more like specialist? I was thinking possibly you go something like a Dalmatian because it looks a bit more unique. It's quite
Yeah,
unique. That might fit the bill quite nicely.
I think it's something like the Dalmatian would be very good if you were looking at a war dancer or a witch elf,
Mm.
or even a Valkyrie. That would be very good indeed.
Yeah. Or maybe like a sausage dog that just has sidestep and edge too.
Oh, see now is a sausage dog? Is that your kind of
Do
mega
you,
stunty strength one?
do you mean a Dachshund?
One of those.
Yes.
Yeah, or sausage dog, as we will label it.
Sorry, I thought this. I don't go to class.
Well, we've already called Alsatians rather than German
Jim
Shepherds. So
Shepherd. Okay, yeah.
You definitely make them Dog Canyon themed if you're carrying on the 80s TV shows.
wait, oh yeah, for the 80s TV shows, yeah, I think that's a good shout. I don't know what I don't really have a color scheme for them yet because the bearded hound is the name of my garden pub, and I do have I was very kindly given for my birthday during lockdown, like branding for it. So there is a bit of branding behind it already. So that kind of red, white, and black kind of color scheme
Would you have
could
them
do quite
like,
nice.
yeah, because like what kind of armor would you give them? Would you kind of give them full on like orc armor, or would you go more kind of elfin, agile? And in fact, that's a good question to you. What style of play would they be?
So my gut feeling for them is that they would. So if we're going full kind of narrative nonsense here, then being the founder of the team, I would probably want them to play in a style that I can play, which would be more edge. And I think if you're doing passing, if you've got someone throwing a frisbee to a dog, that is kind of an edge thing. Dogs do agility, so that all kind of fits. That would kind of lean them towards elves, I think, um, which I think could work quite nicely. But having the position, you maybe just call them humans. They're man's best friend, so they play like humans,
Yeah.
possibly.
I
Armor
suppose
wise, I think they would be all style and no substance. So they would probably be wearing like generic football kind of looking stuff with very little armor because they think they don't need it, but it was expensive, but it was actually just bought slightly knockoff on a cheap price.
And with the characters you have, would they be like a pure representation of a dog, or would they be almost cartoony human dog people?
I think they're kind of like humanoid figure dog people. So what you're probably mainly doing is I kind of want to use Hero Forge because you've got lots of options to make the minis. And what you're probably doing is just making each face and then build look a bit different. Which you can do. They'd have like dog paw legs and they'd have claws but hands. And yeah, they'd be like kind of that kind of wolf folk or like canine folk. I think it could be called in different things. That's kind of what it would be. So then it's just making them all. Another one I thought for blitzers or for big guys was like huskies. Could be quite fun.
Huskies are very long endurance, aren't they?
Mm.
So, but yeah.
But then the other
Don't know.
question is, I think the bigger question for this team, and it's one that I've been toying with for a long time. So, what dog would be your thrower? Or do you ditch the dog thrower and have one person in the team that is a human, that is the thrower and has one of those big, long tennis ball chucking things?
Yeah,
And that's your throwing piece.
I think having one human thrower would fit it quite thematically if you were going for actual dog representations. If you go back to what Tom said, and like you've got, I can't remember the artist who used to paint like dogs playing billiards and all that sort of things, but more that characteristic human body with the dog's head, or a dog like in the shape of a human with clothes on, etc., etc. I think you would just do a normal thrower or something like that. I don't know, maybe a boxer or something.
Would you even, yeah, because it's a difficult one to have a catcher. Because you might say, well, sorry, a thrower. Because you could say, well, actually, no, they're not catchers, they're runners. And just have just runners, not actually have a dedicated thrower.
Unless you play style, bit
Yeah,
delvish.
have greyhounds. Yeah.
I think the key thing is, Chris, you need to get some STF files. Embrace this. You need to embrace this dream, and you need to get it on, because then you can post some pictures on Discord, and people can go, "Yeah, he's lost the plot."
I think I'm going to say it now. I think maybe a greyhound for your runner catcher, and then maybe the border collie as the kind of the keen-brained, most intelligent of the lot is your tactical thrower. That's possibly the way
live
to
the dream.
So before we kind of end it there on what will be a slightly shorter episode this week, is a question for you both. How kind of can you just pick up any team and just pick them up and play them and not really be too fussed and play them for a long time? How important is that kind of narrative and theme behind them within the team that you have? Like, do you need that to stay? Like, is that something that keeps you invested in a team, or is that just kind of fluff that you'll do, but actually the main thing is how they play and how you play them?
Tom?
Yeah, for me, the key thing for me and enjoyment is actually the look of the figures themselves. So I don't think I'll ever play the Games Workshop Norse team, for example, because they just don't excite me as pieces. So that for me, but I've got a Savage Orc kind of team that I play as my Orc team because I really like the pieces. So yeah, for me, it's definitely the sculpts, moreover the actual how good they are kind of thing. I'm sure that's the reason why I've never won any tournament. But that for me is the prime thing for me. It's the look of the figures themselves. They have to look good on the pitch for me.
I'm slightly different from Tom in that that's a generic statement, I know, but for me, it's how the team plays. That's the key thing, how the team plays and how I will enjoy playing with the team. Sculpts, I do like, where it is a good sculpt, but I'm more than happy to either use the GK, so the GW models, but if they're not very good, I'm not worried about, third party. I'm more than happy to do that if it's a really good sculpt. I will think about either the color scheme and then the theme if I'm going to do that as well. But I don't usually start with a theme to say I think I've got to have that, although the only one I've done, I say that I did have some spare elves and I picked up the Idenith Deepkin models and I converted those, and I do have a wood elf team who are based on the Idenith Deepkin with cloaks, but I've painted them in the style of the War Boys from the recent Mad Max films as well, so they're all white with the black faces and stuff, and I've got an Immortan Joe as their coach to finish off as well. So they're okay. I've got not entirely happy with the paint job, but they do look quite funky on the tabletop as well, a bit different as well. Feedback is obviously it's difficult for my opponent to and me at times to work out who's who in terms of the positionals because they can look a bit generic. So that's easily rectified. But I think the fact that if I have spares or something, then I'll do the theme, but I'll do that after my priority, which is the team style, play style, and enjoyment. That's what I'm looking for as well.
I think both of those thoughts are very telling by the kind of different teams and stuff that you've got. Like Tom, like you've got a few kind of different ones and some. I think have you got some teams where you've got multiple versions of the same team but in different scopes?
Yeah.
So like that makes sense. And Scott, for you, like you've got two different Skaven teams, don't you? Or you kind of had a Skaven team, you painted them one way, then you.
No, I've still got two Skaven teams.
You've got two Wood Elf teams.
I've got two Skaven teams, two Wood Elf teams. I'm currently painting up actually, and I've got the one team I really enjoyed painting was Noblars to fit in with an Underworld team, so I could use the rats and the little not Noblars, sorry, Snotlings. So I really enjoyed painting those and the goblins. I do have a goblin horror vibe team to paint up, and like lots of people, I've got other teams. I'm currently painting up a vampire team. And the vampire team, I wanted to play them because of the style and they're different. So that attracted me. Then I came up with a paint scheme, which I wanted to use like a sky blue. And now I've gone down the road. I'm going to take that color and they're all going to be on like ice, snowy bases. They're all going to be very light blue stroke white stroke, that cold ethereal color as well. So that's sort of my theme and things in terms of how they're going to be. So that's going to be another new team coming to a tabletop near you.
Well, because I think that's quite, again, like from what you said and what your preferences and what your priority is, having multiple of the same, like having not as many different teams, but multiples of the same in different kind of paint schemes and different things kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I don't mind. I enjoy that. I mean, so for example, I've just off one of our players in the league, Jack Hans. Hello, Jack, if you're there. I've actually just bought off him one of his spare
Norse teams
information. So yeah, one of the Norse teams. So I'm going to be painting that, and I'm going to strip it all back down. But again, I'm looking forward to painting those. Will I play them? I'll give them a go. Will I keep them as a regular team? Don't know yet. But again, it just gives me something else to get into, and I enjoy that part of the process and the project of see some sculpts, paint them, and then see if you want to play them as well.
I think for me, it's very much I want to know what the narrative of my team is, and then it's quite nice if you play the same team long enough, you kind of build that narrative yourself. Like I had a narrative for my Bitey Ducks lizard team, which the narrative it was when I started is very different to the narrative it is now, because the narrative it is now is based on the fact that they're kind of this established team and what have they done and where have they been and all this stuff and what do they want. So now it's kind of a real life narrative that they've built rather than an old one. So, but yeah, I think for me, I want to be hooked in to the story of it, and that's something. And I know people who don't play Blood Bowl because they don't see that there's that much narrative in it, and they prefer that. Maybe they're D&D people, that kind of thing. And I always try and say to them, like, it is there if you do it, if you choose to play to the narrative, if you choose to play away, paint a team, and do everything in a way that fits the narrative that you've come up with, and you can absolutely have that. And we have some people in the league, Scott Norman and his various teams as an example, who do that every season and have a great time and always bring something new and different. So don't discount the importance of it if that's what's important to you, I think is the message.
You could definitely do your own Drive to Survive style kind of show throughout a league, couldn't you? And I think we've tried to do it a number of times to try and bring some more engagement into a league and trying to be kind of make it more thematic. Definitely.
I may have a little project I'm working on that I will tell you about in a sec, Tom.
I've also got, you've just given me an idea there, Tom. So, because if we're talking about teams, this is what I love before I say that, on what team and idea you've inspired me with. But I think the fact is, as we've alluded to, you can go into as deep or as little as you want to as an individual. The nice thing and the wonderful thing about, not just Blood Bowl, but when you look at other things like 40k, AOS, Old World, you really have the only thing that limits you is your imagination. And I think that is fantastic. If you want to go turn up, chase the meta, play it for the game itself, you can do that. If you want to get more into a narrative, and we've talked on previous podcasts about possibly doing D&D campaigns or having more of a narrative season as it develops, you can absolutely do that. Yeah, we talked with Alistair, who is a big exponent of that as well. But the one thing you've just inspired me, Tom, is to possibly look at some sort of apocalyptic old world. Some sort of, if the old world fantasy went completely apocalyptic, the end times and all that sort of thing as it was. So yeah, I might have to have a look at that as well.
Would that be an OWA team?
No, I'm going to stay away from those because
well done.
So just yeah.
Heed thy warning. Great, yeah, and the thing that just popped into my head there as well is, like, I've spoken to people who have played in leagues where maybe the kind of setup of the league is much more you turn up, you play, and you go home, and there's kind of maybe not as much around it, which is absolutely fine if that kind of works for the community. I would say, though, don't let that put you off having your own kind of narrative or your own thing. And I think that our league may not have always had quite the level of kind of narratives going through it and all this and that and the other, and then people come into it who push that or enjoy that, and then other people do the same, or other people are like, oh, I still just want to turn up and play. There's multiple ways to enjoy this game. Just find the one that works. Well, look, if you've got a theme about a team that you want to tell us about, if there's a team, color scheme, name, anything like that you want to tell us about, and you want to get in touch, Mr. Scott Bryant, how do people do so?
Mr. Chris Coe, people from wherever they are on this planet, for whatever theme they like, however they like to play Blood Bowl, if they want to share that with us, any ideas, what do you think about our ideas, themes, thoughts, ways of looking at it? Are there any ideas we haven't thought of and we could actually utilize and maybe bring them to life? Drop us a note, the usual place, or one word, lowercase, uppercase, mixed case, whoever case, newdiceplease@gmail.com. So newdiceplease@gmail.com. And Mr. Tom Hovell, for people's Blood Bowl fix, where else can they do to satisfy their craving?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you've also got your own themed teams, kind of send them over to, if you want to send us pictures of it, we can obviously repost them on Instagram and also on Blue Sky, both under New Dice Please. And also you can see us as well as hear us on YouTube under Blood Bowl Live.
Thank you very much, Scott. Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We've been New Dice Please, and we'll see you next time.
Oh, we didn't do, before we finish off on air, of course, we haven't done the Tom Feeks word of the day. Does anybody want to think of something suitably innuendo-ish, smutty, or filth?
Oh, I don't know. Like,
just get him to record something. We'll just stick it on the end.
Yeah, I'll ask you just to record one word, and we'll say Tom Feeks' word of the day is,
and we'll all listen for it, and it'll be there. There'll be
there. It is. Great. And now we won't. And then we'll just leave it there.